I already like just unloaded myself like 5 seconds ago, trying to explain to myself why I'm thinking Starfield may actually be a good game here, only because it's like I'm comparing it to like this spectrum, right? I'm gonna reiterate it all over again, but to sum it all up, as much as I shouldn't be getting my hopes up here, I really shouldn't, because I should be expecting the worst at this point when it comes to AAA gaming. But Starfield, I feel like it's going to be the Skyrim of this decade. I don't know why. I get that feeling that this game is going to be pretty fucking big. Not big like Odyssey, where it felt lifeless in some areas. It could be lifeless in some areas in Starfield, but what Odyssey doesn't have, Starfield does have. And I know I'm using it as a crutch, of course, the creation kit for modding, but I digress. I feel like Starfield will be the Skyrim of this decade, where over the next several years, when did Skyrim first come out? That's the big question. When did it first come out? It came out in 2011. The tens, early on in the 10 cycle, that game came out, and it's obviously there's been like better RPGs, but I would have to say that Skyrim is probably one of the best RPGs ever, only because it's from Bethesda, it has deep RPG mechanics, and the modding support for it. When I go to Nexus mods, the first two games that are up there are Skyrim Special Edition and OG Skyrim at 60,000 and 69,000. Nice, by the way. Mods, respectively. But even if you don't include mods, Skyrim is just one of those games that I never really went through it. I never did. I did a couple quests here, did a little bit of Dawn Guard, became a thief and pickpocketed some fuckers, cheesed my stealth stat all the way to 100 in the first area, and got railed by everyone because I abused the leveling system to the point where I had weak ass weaponry, so I couldn't keep up with the other enemies that were kicking my ass, etc., etc. But you don't have to play Skyrim to know how influential it was on the industry. Between some RPGs to this day using mechanics that Skyrim introduced to, meme culture being referenced in many other games. Like Skyrim is just one of those games that people know about, whether you played it or not. And I feel like Starfield could be that game. And it all stems from this spectrum that I've been thinking of, where I'm thinking that it's actually going to be a good game on release. Let's think back a decade ago, roughly. Not even a decade, more like several years ago. The first culprit, No Man's Sky. 2016. So about almost 7-ish years ago, roughly. That game, like, it was marketed as being a great, expansive, open world sci fi exploration game. A lot of, like, with some customization, going to different planets that are procedurally generated, seeing all these fantastic animals and whatnot, etc., etc. Then the game comes out, and it gets the worst name, and by worst name I mean like worst for its reputation in the world, No Man's Lie, because everything they marketed was just fucking horrible. It pissed a lot of people off. It was one of the biggest lies ever. But then, in my opinion, No Man's Sky does something that earns itself like a spot in like one of the best gaming stories ever, up there with, E.T. the extraterrestrial killing the gaming industry. No Man's Lie exceeds No Man's Sky. And it makes its own name for itself by having the best underdog story ever. Because, the people, like the team, Hello Games, if I recall correctly, I think that's them. Yeah, Hello Games. They kept their mouth shut. They sat down. They pumped out content piece after content piece. Patch, expansion, free of charge, need I mind you. And at this point, after 7 long years, the game not only is in a better shape than it was at launch, it's far exceeded even the original idea for No Man's Sky. It's earned its underdog story that no other game can match this day. Another game that people try to, compare to is Cyberpunk 2077, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Back to the updates. I feel like with just how much goodwill they've gotten over the years from fixing it up, I'll dare say it. I bet tomorrow they could say they're running into some financial trouble here. The next couple of expansions might cost money for No Man's Sky, $10, $15, $20. But you know what? Even if they were to do that, or ask fans what they think they should be priced or whatever, fans would be like, make it $20, we'll pay for it. Because they've added in so much content and changed the game so much, they'd be willing to probably throw some money at them. The show thanks that you fuckers kept your word, you fixed this game beyond any belief, and it's a beautiful game. Not my cup of tea, sadly. Not a lot of action. I'm an action man. I'm a guy that chases the violence, that wants the warfare, that wants the shooting gallery, all that shit, which is where Starfield is at. But let me continue. If No Man's Sky is in the middle of the spectrum, where it was great, then shit, and then far exceeded anybody's hopes and dreams, on the left side of that spectrum is Cyberpunk 2077. Similar scenario with No Man's Sky, where it was marketed to high hell. It's going to be one of the best RPGs you'll ever play. Deep customization, story paths, meaningful choices that'll impact the story, so many features like trains, expansive cyberware, wall running, an interactive and customizable apartment, so on and so forth. They said all this shit leading up to the game's release. I know what happened to me in that case. I still remember it as if it was yesterday. I took a few days off from work in preparation for it, had the game preloaded, had my fucking Royale glass ready with some Diet Dr. Pepper, iced, booted the game up. I managed to get through the tutorial. Spent a good 5-10 minutes trying to tweak the settings. Realized I had to play everything at fucking low settings to get it to work. I think I even lowered it down to 1080p when I had when I had a 2K monitor to use it with. It was once I completed the tutorial section, I got into the car, and it's like I was going to my apartment, wherever I was going to the next mission objective. I put it down. I normally have a policy where I stay by my purchases. I have a final buy policy, no refunds. Full commitment. Whatever I pay, that's done deal. I stick with that purchase for the rest of my life. Cyberpunk 2077 is the one and only game so far to this day that I have returned. I even got it on GOG because I wanted to give all of my money to CD Projekt Red to support this game. Nope. I got a refund. And to this day, I'm still burning through that GOG money on various cheap games that I could find. Whatever I could find. It hurt me. It was sad. It was one of those big disappointments. Everything they said it was in there wasn't in there. The Life Pass didn't mean shit. There was so much cut content. The game ran so fucking terribly when there was plenty of other games that came out during that time that would run flawlessly and, dare I say, looked even better than Cyberpunk, in my opinion. Now, to this day, after a few years, like some people, I mean, their truth, they say it's a better game than it was at launch. But it'll never change the fact that they sold us on something or implied something that it was supposed to be. But at the end of the day, that's not what it became to be. It was a completely different game they were marketing for all these years. And now Phantom Liberty's rolling around. At first, I'm hopeful. I'm thinking, oh, Phantom Liberty looks really good. But, during this recent showcase, either my co-host's mood rubbed off on me or maybe I just came to my senses. I'm not even excited for Phantom Liberty. They're asking us for $30 for Phantom Liberty, and it's only going to be the one and only expansion. Like, with The Witcher 3, I know that, the expansions that came out were amazing. Let me see when those expansions first came out. Expansion price. There we go. Expansion cost. So it was 2 separate expansions, Hearts of Stone and apparently Blood and Wine, adding up to $30, or you could pay $25 for the expansion pass. They're asking us for only one expansion for $30. After how they fucked us over all those years ago, I don't know, man. I'm just not that too enthusiastic. And just looking at the Steam statistics. Oh, dear Christ. Payday 3's now at 6! Rank 6! No! But I see Cyberpunk's now at rank 4, no doubt, after, the revealing and whatnot at the Xbox conference. But there's a new bundle. For $55, you can get Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty. An $80 package for $55. And it's like, I'm still waiting for it to go on sale for $10. Because I feel like that's how much it's worth after all that fucking malarkey. The lies. Cyber Lie 2077. As much as I hate to say it, that's how I feel about it. And, kudos to the development team that tried to work on it while they were literally making the engine while making the game. It's not their fault. It's management's fault for, mismanaging them. It's horrible. I can only imagine if, they had, the original veteran creators from The Witcher 3 working on it instead of, pushing them out and getting new hires every few months to work on. I can only imagine what Cyberpunk 2077 would have been to this day. Probably would have came out sooner. It probably would have been a completely different game, but it would have been a better game, no doubt. Could have been so much different. My hope was crushed for it. But now, I get this weird feeling that I haven't felt in a long time for a game. Because for the past, few years, it's like, there's been some games I've been interested in that, I've been hyped for. Whether it be Resident Evil Village and how it had similar feelings to Resident Evil 4, the original, or Red Dead Redemption 2 finally coming to PC or whatever. There were some games I was hyped up for, but Cyberpunk was something special. It was something that was, really passionate. I was loving it. And, it was to the point where, I was watching Cyberpunk movies in preparation. I bought the controller. I was about to be an idiot and buy the fucking, or try to get the Cyberpunk themed 2080 Ti GPU. If only I'd known that GPU wouldn't even be able to fucking run the game to begin with. I even bought the lore book that's probably still over here behind me on my desk somewhere under a bunch of clutter. Great book, though. Explains a lot of the lore. But this feeling, this passion, this fire burning in me, it burns. That was the only other good thing that came out of Cyberpunk 2077 was the Edge Runners anime. I really want to go over to your house. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, there's this feeling that I haven't felt since Cyberpunk. And that's a feeling I have for Starfield. I don't know what it is about it, but there's just something about Starfield that makes me think it's not going to be a neutral ground where it's like No Man's Sky, and it's not going to be in a horrible state that Cyberlie was. I feel like it's going to be on the right side of the spectrum, where right now people are already like naysayers about it. There are some people that are really optimistic about it, rightfully so, especially after that amazing showcase. But there's still some people, when you go to the Steam discussions, right? You go to the discussions and you just see people complaining about the price for it, early access, bullshit about, I guess, some of the customization stuff, never pre-order, you know, FPS caps. Oh, this is literally just No Man's Sky, but worse. Worse performance, less content, not seamless. Whatever the hell that means. There's a lot of people that, are really talking shit about and don't believe it, which is rightfully so. Bethesda did burn a couple of bridges in the past, between 76 and the paid mods bullshit, all that crap. But despite all that, I think Starfield's going to be a great game. It may not be everybody's cup of tea. There are some people, rightfully so, that only like magical, mythical stuff like Fable, Dragon's Age, or even, Skyrim. Some people may not be into the sci-fi genre. But, I don't know. A part of me just thinks that Starfield may be Game of the Year contender. And it'd be pretty fucking funny if, after all these AAA releases, what? The Last of Us Part 1 on PC does terribly. Redfall is a bastard child of Arcane. Fucking piss poor performance even at the lowest settings at like 720p for Star Wars, Jedi Survivor. Just like Gollum. Oh, the worst AAA game thus far this year. And how that game was even conceived is beyond me. Just all these fucking games here, the only fucking decent game that's come out so far in my eyes was, okay, Street Fighter 6, it seems. A friend of mine's, the co-host, is really loving that game right now. And System Shock, an indie game. A remake of the original System Shock. The granddaddy of immersive sims. Oh, maybe Diablo 4 as well. The cosmetic microtransactions suck ass, but at its purest form, it seems like it's classic Diablo, which everyone loves. But it'd be pretty funny, again, if all these AAA releases that have just solely 2023 and like almost making it feel like 2023 is the worst year of gaming yet, it'd be pretty funny if Starfield comes out of the gate swinging. Full speed ahead. And maybe somehow it's not as buggy as the other Bethesda games that have come out. Maybe it actually runs well. Maybe the performance isn't that bad. Maybe somehow I can run it on my computer. Wouldn't that be funny? If even to this day, the same rig that I used for Cyberpunk, I can somehow still play Starfield and have a more beautiful and stable experience compared to Cyberpunk. Maybe it's just that sweet summer child in me thinking that Starfield will be a great game. Only because it's ticking off all my boxes. Exploration, RPG, sci-fi setting, traveling to different planets, being an explorer, looting, pillaging, hijacking, killing enemy pirates, a mysterious story into the unknown, fast character customization, all of it. staples from various Bethesda games all rolled up into one, into their first new IP in 25 years. I don't know. I just get this feeling that, again, this could be the Skyrim of the decade. This could be this decade's Skyrim. But it's not Skyrim. It's Starfield. I've taken up enough of your guys' time. That's all I'm going to say for now. I hope that Starfield is a great game. It exceeds everybody's expectations. And it's the one shining light in this darkness that is 2023. Y'all stay safe. Take care. Ramble Manager's clocking out once again. See you in the stars.